I'm just going to go over the principles of my oil burner a little bit, just so that anybody looking to build one can take the stuff that I've learned and hopefully make it better. Because that was, I looked online, I went through YouTube, I looked at burners that other people had built, and I kind of tried to use some ideas and then thought about the things that I thought were missing and tried to make this one a little bit better. So, I mean, you've probably seen a bunch of propane tank ones, so it's kind of the same idea. The propane tank's hollowed out. There's the air rises up from the burn chamber, which is below it. I put too many holes in the burn chamber, and it was burning too hot, and it would burn dirty. So I plugged a bunch of the holes up just by putting bolts in them, kind of to see where I'd get my best mixture, and I made a little door so you can get in there. But that's the basic piece of it. And inside the tank, and I don't know if we'll be able to see in there, but I welded a plate. So like I took a couple of rods and I welded a flat plate so that when the flame comes up, it hits the plate and it spreads out. So when this thing's really burning hot, the heat comes like outwards in all directions against the side of the tank, and this is where it'll start to cherry first, when it's really burning hot, and then the flames come up and rise up the stack. The thing that I saw that really needed improvement, or I don't know if improvement's the right word, but the way the feed system works, because you see a lot of systems where there's a needle valve and you use that to control the drip down into the burn chamber, but the tank's usually somewhere separate, and if that's what you want, that's okay, but I want to be able to move the unit around, so I incorporated the tank as part of the unit, so it's all one thing. So I thought that was, for my purposes, that was an improvement. I could probably make it a little bigger. It doesn't last too long with this tank, just a few hours maybe, maybe most of the day depending. And then the other thing was, this has to be filtered, to not plug up the needle valve, but sometimes you have chunky stuff you want to get rid of, and so I made this separate tube that goes directly to the burn chamber, and I put a funnel in there, and then I can dump the bottom of a container or something a little chunkier right in there, not worry if it's got stuff that would plug up the needle valve. So I also thought that was an improvement. And then being able to control it, I came up with this, which again, it was just experimental, but this kind of can fit in here. And I mean, you could just drill a hole in this. This tube's a little thicker. This is just regular chimney pipe, and I welded that to the tank, but I put compressed air on here, and then I can use this regulator to control the flow, and that air going in helps it burn cleaner, because it's post-burn, and then it also creates a vacuum which pulls air through more, and the more air I use, the more it pulls, so it acts as a control for the amount of heat output, because the faster that thing, the more air that is, the more it draws, the more heat output you get. And this was just experimental again. I think ultimately, and probably a larger diameter hole with a low pressure, like a very low wattage fan will do, function the same way. And I haven't tried it out, but that's probably where I'll go next with it, in order to try to make control temperature or heat output using some sort of setup like that. But that's basically the principle of how this thing works and how I came to where it is now. And again, it's a prototype, but hopefully if you're building one, you can take this stuff and incorporate it into it, or take what you like and throw out what you don't and make something even better. All right, today I'm going to do the complete startup process. So the first thing I do with this is I put a little veg oil directly into the burn chamber. and I fall over because New Year's was 2 nights ago, but I did enough drinking that I'm still drunk. No, I'm just kidding. So, put a little veggie oil right down the pipe just to get it started. That should be enough on the bottom to get it going. And then I'll put quite a bit, well, enough in the holding tank. Actually, I already have some in there, so I'll put a little more in the chamber just so I know it starts good. Yeah. And then I open up the door. And a lot of people use a rag, that does work. I have a couple of rags in there that absorb oil, but I just need a minute with this and it'll fire it up. This makes enough flame. Here, I got my needle valve. Get a drip going. That looks like it's going pretty good now. I'll close the door on that. Now, I use compressed air to help it. Now I use this regulator to control the amount of compressed air. So obviously more air, the more burn, but it doesn't take much. And I just use that kind of as a throttle for the burner, because it doesn't burn super hot, but if it's not too cold out, without the air it'll be fine. But as it gets colder, or if I'm trying to warm the barn up first thing in the morning, there's a little more air, and it'll get that going hotter and make it burn quicker. And that's the startup process for my homemade oil burner. And I use veggie oil, but you can use waste oil in it.